Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. We are playing some Final Fantasy 14 this week, because it's kind of been a Final Fantasy 14 kind of week. There's been some things going on with Final Fantasy 14, both with me and with the game in general. For one, they announced the next expansion for Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. So this is my first fresh expansion. This is the first time I've ever like watched an announcement or anything like that for an expansion for this game. And so they had a whole stream. I guess normally they do these things in big in-person events, but you know, due to the pandemic, they just did a digital announcement thing with Yoshi P and Koji Fox, and they had like a stream going with comments that they were glancing at, but mostly, you know, it was just sort of an announcement kind of thing. It was pretty lighthearted. I like that. You know, it was not stiff and formal like a lot of like E3 kind of things or what, you know. It was just pretty relaxed, and the Square Enix CEO or whatever came on, and even that was sort of funny, and yeah, so Endwalker, this is the next expansion coming out this fall. And we're going to the moon, so that's going to be very interesting. And they said that with the expansion, the 6.0 release in fall, that will wrap up the entire Hydaelyn Zodiark storyline. So this storyline, this one storyline that we've been playing since A Realm Reborn, will conclude with the release of this next expansion. And they had to clarify that that's not the end of Final Fantasy XIV. In fact, it's pretty far from it. Because with the first post-expansion patch, 6.1, they'll be starting up an entirely new storyline. And they said that it's going to be like even more epic than this one. So, I mean, from the sound of it, they're going to be doing Final Fantasy XIV for the next 10 years or so, at least. There's no indication whatsoever that we're getting Final Fantasy 17 online. You know, there's no indication of that. They're happy with 14, which is sort of odd to me because from what I understand, this game is very kind of cobbled together, like on the technical side of things, from when the original release, and they had to sort of, you know, hack things together for A Realm Reborn, and they've just sort of been piling things on, and there's a lot of like technical issues that prevent them from doing certain things or adding certain features. Like a lot of people want like the glamour system to be like the sort of WoW transmog system, where as soon as you pick up a piece of gear, it's just added to your glamour set. It's added to your glamour inventory. And at any time, you can just swap to that. You don't have to put items into an armoire. And even the armoire has like a limited amount of space and stuff. It's really kind of clunky compared to WoW's transmog system, which is really easy and smooth and well done. And the reason for this apparently is technical. The code just doesn't allow for it, or something like that. That's what I understood it to be. And yeah, there's a lot of issue. I mean, something about like the mount music, like the different music you might hear when you put on a different mount. They're like restricted into how many different pieces of mount music they can have in the game. Again, due to the coding limitations. Which is just sort of odd. But I think, you know, points to the cobbled together nature. So I would think they would sort of be interested in just saying, all right, we're going to do... I think we'd all rather it be like Final Fantasy 14-2, you know, where it's not like a different... I feel like with a different Final Fantasy, when you move numbers, you have to do different settings. You have to do a different story. I mean, that's just how it works. Whereas we'd rather stick with the Orze, we'd rather stick with these characters and see where things go. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I'd rather it be built on a 2021 engine, you know. But regardless, yeah, we're getting plenty more Final Fantasy 14. They announced a new job. There's going to be 2 new jobs. One is a melee DPS, which is not announced. And the other is a healer, which is very exciting because I like healers. This is the Sage. Now, the Sage is, you know, a Final Fantasy job from like Tactics Advance, I think. It's either Advance or Advance 2 has the Sage. So it's been there. I think if I was going to pick like a healer-ish class from a tactics game, I probably wouldn't have gone with Sage. I would have picked like Chemist, which is what a lot of people wanted. Especially because the Sage that they're showing us doesn't really seem like this is an original sort of job. It uses these like Gundam kind of weapons, these like blades that float around you. And they said that this is a barrier type healer. And they want to make a clear differentiation between barrier type healers, such as the new Sage and the Scholar, and what they call pure healers, which is the White Mage. And that leaves the Astrologian in sort of a funny spot, because the Astrologian can be both a sort of pure healer or a barrier healer, depending on their sort of stance. So they announced that they're going to be retooling the Astrologian to make it more of a pure healer, which means we're probably going to lose stances entirely. We're going to lose sex entirely. And it's just going to become... a lot of people are concerned it's going to become just a lot more boring. It's just going to become White Mage 2.0 instead of being a unique Astrologian class. Now, I don't know if I'm really that concerned about that. I have some faith, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't. I haven't been around long enough. But yeah, I'm excited to try the Sage because it's a new healing class. You know, hopefully it's not just the same formula, but, you know, slightly different aesthetics. But I'm also a little interested and a little concerned about the retooled Astrologian. And they said that they're going to be the pure healer versus barrier healer. This is going to be represented in like the raid finder and party finder, which to me feels like, I mean, right now, again, from what I understand, barrier healers are kind of shit on. I mean, it's not really like in high-end stuff. It's not really like recommended. like the game at a high level is just not really tooled around barriers. From what I understand, again, I haven't played that. So I find it interesting they want to really, you know, bring barrier healers more to the forefront on the same level as pure healers. But I feel like people will just sort of skip any barrier healers and just not want to play them, or I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I mean, they announced a bunch of things. They're going to be doing a stat squish, which is not surprising. And again, the reason that they pointed to needing to do the stat squish is not because of, like, player benefit or anything like that, of numbers just getting absurd or anything like that. They pointed to the code. That they need to squish stats to smaller numbers because these really large numbers are causing, like, overflow glitches and things like that, and the code just couldn't handle it because, you know, we're having bosses now with like 440 million HP, and it was just causing too many errors. So again, they are restricted and sort of, you know, their decisions are based around the cobbled together code. I mean, WoW did a stat squish recently, and maybe they did it for the same reason. I don't know. What else? Oh, they announced that they're going to be implementing a data center travel. So right now, there's multiple data centers that comprise a bunch of different worlds or servers. And if you're on the same data center as someone, you can bounce between worlds. And so if you're on one world, you can go visit them on another world if you're in the same data center. They're going to be implementing data center travel, which means that no matter where the other person is, you'll be able to go visit them and do dungeons with them and things like that. So that's awesome. That's really exciting. Ren, we can finally do some dungeons together. That'll be cool. And you know, with the exploring series videos, I'll be able to get some people from anywhere in the world. Any server they're on, we can hook up, and should be cool. Yeah, so all in all, I'm definitely excited. Going to the moon, finishing up some storylines, new classes or new jobs. Should be a pretty fun expansion. They showed off like some concept art of like new locations and the new town. It looks incredible. I mean, again, I think we're leaving stuff like Stormblood behind of just boring ass locations. The town they showed off of Radzatan in that whole location just looked incredible and colorful and beautiful, and it's like, yes, yes. If people remember all these damn fantasy names. Well, like Radzatan. I mean, they just said that like yesterday. Oh, that one I remember more specifically because they showed the English title, which is like Rad Zathan or something, and then they showed it in katakana, and I noticed the katakana spelling, which is just like Razahan. They also announced island sanctuaries, which are gonna be like your own personal sort of Harvest Moon thing. You'll be able to go to your own little island and cultivate it however you like. So you'll be able to like raise animals and farm and like explore, and you'll be able to like let your minions out if you want. It's interesting. Yeah, so that's all good. I mean, I'm excited. That's coming out in fall. They also announced the PlayStation 5 beta. I don't really have much reason to play on PlayStation 5, as I have a very nice PC, but the footage they showed of PS5 looked pretty good. The load times were like instantaneous, which is awesome. I mean, maybe just as fast as mine or slightly faster. It was like instant. But anyways, moving on to this channel. Can you believe it? We actually finished uploading Final Fantasy XIV this week. Yes. Like, temporarily. There'll be more, of course. New expansion coming, more patches coming, but still, temporarily, we finished. And it feels weird. I've been uploading 2 videos a day for like the last 4 months or something. But we're caught up. Done. Missed the last 2 Brothers play because YouTube only gave me notifications after it was over. How unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Not much I can do about that. How's my day been so far? Pretty good. Can't complain. Got some more work to do today, recording Final Fantasy XIV, because it just consumes my whole life now, I guess. How many episodes are out on the channel now? 136. Comprises about 175 hours worth of content, so it's a hefty series, and it's only gonna grow because, you know, I'm not gonna stop. Plenty more on the way. Just right now it's on hiatus until patch 5.5, and then it'll only be like 3 episodes until fall, when the new expansion comes out, and then we get to do plenty of stuff. So yeah, it's weird not uploading 2 a day. What game do I have the most real time in? It certainly could be. It certainly could be Final Fantasy XIV. possibly still WoW if you add up like all the times I've played it, stopped playing it, you know, back and forth. I mean, if you take Monster Hunter as a franchise, that probably wins out. Yeah, I don't know. It might be about it. I mean, especially if you consider that I played through Final Fantasy XIV when it came out, and I played it to max level, and then you combine all the time I've been playing it now, playing through the entire story, and then playing through the entire story again. You know, it's a lot of time. There was a good solid month and a half I was playing it like 10 to 12 hours a day. So, yeah, something like that. Aside from Final Fantasy XIV, though, we are uploading... What are we uploading? We finished uploading Doom Eternal. The DLC. DLC 1. So that was exciting for those that watched that. It was a pretty unexpected ending there. We've got more Dragon Quest 6. That'll be continuing this week, no doubt about it. And we started up Divinity Original Sin 2, my solo playthrough, which I'm still recording. It's still going on. It's going well. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Here's this Clicker Heroes month worth of real time because I had to leave my computer on almost the entire day throughout 3 months to progress. Yeah, it's not quite the same. I'm a little sad I got this dungeon for the leveling roulette, because I'm probably going to be doing this dungeon with Explora for the recording today. Oh well. Yeah, so that's all that. We had Hunt a Killer, Blair Witch, episode 4, which went well. We handled that pretty nicely. We had Two Brothers play Final Fantasy X. And that's pretty much where we're at. So there'll be more Dragon Quest 6 and more Divinity Original Sin. We got 2 turn-based RPGs going on at the same time. You know, last week I mentioned maybe doing that Werewolf the Apocalypse game or whatever, but the reviews started coming out for that, and I was just like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't look like the worst game of the year or anything. It just does not look like worth my $60. So I decided to pass on that, and we'll just do Divinity. If people find it boring, then I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's that. This week, for the variety stream, I don't have anything specifically planned yet. I do want to do maybe the following week. I want to do the next, whatever the sequel to Man of Medan is. I don't remember what they called it. But this week, we'll step away from horror for a moment. I want to do something more, I don't know, action related. I don't know what it'll be. I'll decide. Neo 2 Remastered came out this week. I've been playing that a little bit. It was nice because I had bought Neo 2 when it came out for PS4. And so I got the... You know, you get the upgrade to the remaster for free. So that was nice. And it runs great. From what I hear about the PC version of the remaster, it kind of runs like shit. I think there's a lot of issues with it. So, yeah, it runs really well on the PS5. Great load times, 4K, HDR. I mean, what's not to like? Yeah, over on the Exploring series, released a video on, that's a question and a half. Let's see. What did I release a video on? Oh, the memetics, anti-memetics one, I don't remember the name, or if you can read this. That's what it was. And that seemed to have done all right. I can't complain about that. And I also released, of course, the 3rd episode of the story of Final Fantasy XIV. And not a lot of people are watching the Final Fantasy XIV videos yet at the moment, but the people that are watching it seem to like them. So for now, we're going to keep making them, and hopefully it'll find an audience. You know, you got to give it time. You know, as long as people think they're good videos, I always feel it will eventually find an audience. So yeah, I'm not kicking it to the curb yet. Eventually, I mean, if it's like July and we're still getting 10,000 views, then maybe it might be time to pull the plug. Do I know any more short SCPs I can do videos on, like 9 to 15 minutes? So I really try to avoid SCPs that are that short, because that's just sort of a... You know, I stick to the 1 SCP video a week schedule, and so that's just not... That's not most people would be disappointed if that was the week's video. It was 10 minutes. So, for SCPs that are that short, I tend to just lump them with other SCPs into a theme. So it's more just an issue of trying to figure out a theme that can connect multiple shorter SCPs. Like, you know, cat SCPs. Pretty much all the ones in cat SCPs are pretty short. Okay, what is this cool thing I got? Fire starter. Oh, wow. That's really good. That's really good. All right. You really hope the series at least gets through Realm Reborn. Yeah, me too. Me too. And that's why I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm rushing through a Realm Reborn, but I think my summarizations the pace will slow down once we get past a Realm Reborn, and we'll focus a bit more on like specific moments and character development and things like that. This Realm Reborn is just not that great. It's important, I mean, but there's a lot of it that I can cut out without worrying too much. Like, stuff concerning the Scions, that I try to keep pretty, you know, I try to expound on that and put that in the videos as much as I can, because like Thancred and Minfilia and Alpha, I mean, these are characters that are there throughout the entire, well, more or less, you know, it's important. Whereas like talking about fucking Laurentius or whatever, it's just like, you know, sure, he pops up again, but it's not really essential. So that's part of the tricky thing of this series, is really deciding what needs to go in and what doesn't. While making it entertaining to watch for a first time, entertaining to watch if you've played through the whole game. You know, there's a lot to juggle. How much did my setup cost? Setup is in like my computer and recording equipment, or setup, I mean, quite a bit. I did order a new computer. After my frame rate troubles in Doom Eternal DLC, I got sick of it. So I've got a new computer on the way. Eventually, I mean, it's like taking them 8 years to throw out a computer nowadays, because the supply of graphics card is just like, it's in the dumps, man. It is absolutely in the dumps. So of course I went with a 3090. It's easier to get a 3090 than a 3080 at this point. So I should get that by the end of the month, even though I ordered last month. You know, I don't sweat getting new computers too much, as it's both my job and my hobby. It's sort of essential to me. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully it's a pretty good rig. I mean, it's pretty top of the line. What are some ways I would say the SCP Foundation's writing has improved or gotten worse over the years? Boy, oh boy. I mean, I would say it's really just improved over the years. But to be fair, I'm a lot more selective nowadays. I mean, I know people wish that I did this, but I'm not the type of person that just like, oh, there's a new article on the SCP wiki, I gotta read it. You know, I don't do that. I really don't do that. I use ratings, you know, as a general guideline of what I should be reading and what I, you know, can wait on. Like I really won't read anything with less than 70 points. All right, see you, Zeeb. Because I mean, for the rating system, I feel like if it's really good, eventually it will get rated up enough. I suppose there could be exceptions to that. Like if DJ Cactus puts out a new piece, I'm gonna read it, you know. He has earned that privilege as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so I'm a bit more selective, whereas when I started SCP, I read the first 1,000, you know, I read everything. So I saw a lot of crap. But in general, I feel like the scope of articles has increased dramatically. You know, the epicness, the entire sort of universe, the SCP universe has grown in such a great degree. Whereas in the you know, at the start or early on, every article was fairly self-contained. And there were aspects of the SCP canon or SCP universe that was present in all these things, you know, D-class and mentions of O5s and certain procedures and things like that. But nowadays, I mean, we've got so many articles that just build, you know, utilize this incredible universe and add to this incredible universe in such great ways. There are plenty of articles, I think, still that are self-contained and are that, you know, some of them are really good and some of them are really crap. But as far as I'm concerned, like, I'm far more interested in a lot of different aspects of the SCP universe than I was in the past. You've got different canons, you've got all these different cool groups of interests. These groups of interest are evolving and changing and being expanded upon. You know, when I first started, like, Church of the Broken God was just this very mysterious, nebulous, dark organization. They seemed to worship machines and they wanted to kill people and throw them into machines, you know? Whereas now you look at the entire canon of the Church of the Broken God and all the aspects of it and all these different articles that people have written about the different branches, and they've written poetry, you know, from different branch perspectives, and it's really just interesting. Do I enjoy the various canon hubs and such? Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't read as many as I'd like, and I'd like to do a lot more videos about the different canon hubs, but those are big projects, and, you know, basically I'm just lazy. As a side note, this really fucking infuriated me, but you're like, all of your settings for Final Fantasy 14, all of your UI settings, configurations, even like the layout of your buttons, of like your abilities, the order and the layout of them, all of that, every single setting related to you as a player for Final Fantasy XIV is saved locally. Which sort of makes sense, I guess, but I expected, I suppose, I don't know why, I expected there to be some cloud save or something. Yeah, there is a way to export. I mean, you can easily just save it. I just did not know, and I did not even think about it, that it was all saved locally, even the order of my buttons. And so, and stuff that I would have never expected to be saved locally, like your gear sets. Your fucking gear sets are saved locally. So I had to reformat my computer for some reason. I loaded up Final Fantasy XIV, and it was all just blank. It was all fresh, blank. So, I mean, it's just like, none of this is not, and they even bring up like the tips again, like the tips reset, as if I've never played this character before. So, if you've been watching, if you watched the Let's Play I did, I had a whole like custom hotkey thing over here on the side where I had all like macros set up for switching jobs and things, and that was all set up with macro codes. So your fucking macros reset. Why are your macros saved locally? There's no cloud saved. I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you know about it, it's obviously very easy to just save that and bring it back when you reinstall, but I just did not think about any, so everything got reset, and really infuriating. So right now I pretty much just have everything set for recording for the Exploring series videos. And I just deal with it. As long as I can keep recording that stuff, then it's fine. Anyways, what was I talking about? Right, SCP. So, yeah, so the video for this week, let me look up the, I think it's 1461. Yeah, 1461 House of the Worm. So this is a bit of an interesting SCP video for me, because normally I either do a summary or I do a reading. I rarely do readings, but I've done them. This is a combination between a summary and a reading. I would say like 35% of it maybe is summary and the rest is reading, because it involves an SCP, but then the SCP is connected to a tale, and the tale contains no dialogue. I just realized I don't really remember how to heal. Okay, we're gonna be healing. We're gonna be healing a lot. Put that there. This is not the most efficient healing I could do, I'm sure. There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, so it's a combination summary reading, and the tale doesn't contain any dialogue, so I gave it a shot. of just reading the entire thing, no summary in the middle. And it's a really good SCP. Like, I really like it. I really like the tale. It's good writing. And I decided to take a bit of a chance here. And for the tale portion, the reading portion, I decided to do a bit of voice acting. So, I mean, it's not much voice acting. It's not like an accent or anything. I just made my voice sort of slightly more gravelly in a noticeable way. I mean, you can notice that I'm putting on a voice. And I wasn't sure how well this would be received. People on Patreon seem to think it's pretty good, and they like it. Because I could have easily just redone it. But people seem to like it, so we're going to keep it. And the video is like 50 minutes long. So it's a hefty video. But for me, you know, it was not that much work. Because anytime I don't have to like write out summaries, it's fairly easy. Damn, that's really loud. So much practice from LPing all those text-based RPGs. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I basically put on a voice that I would use for like a gruff character in an RPG. Ugh, I can't believe you've done this. Yeah, it's something like, it's probably not that bad, but something like that. I you know, when I was recording it, I was like, this sounds decent. When I was listening to it, I was like, this is probably not that good. But no, people seem to like it, so we'll see how it goes. Because obviously I would like to be better at voice acting. I mean, that's a skill that is certainly valuable to me and my career. No doubt about it. I just don't have a lot of confidence. But yeah, I think people like the video. People like anything I do that's 50 minutes long. And I like when I do videos that are 50 minutes long because you get a lot of ads in there. Win-win. Good listens in the car. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that my longest video is my most popular video. I don't think that's a coincidence. Was FF11 a good game? I have no idea. I played FF11 when it came out. I played it for like a few days. I remember thinking the Dragoon was really cool because you got to summon your own wyvern to fight with you. I thought that was badass, but I really don't remember much of it. Yeah, I don't know. It came out at a time maybe I wasn't really interested in MMOs or... So I've heard it was a good game, but I mean, obviously, I think this is the premier, the best Final Fantasy MMO. This is a good music choice from Balance and Ruin. Yeah, we have background music playing from my hard drive because I don't have music turned on for the game. And that's again for the purposes of recording. I felt that if I had in-game music turned on, then during like voiced cutscenes when I use the audio from the game, it would sort of like be jarring to bounce between the background music that I put in the video and background music from the game, and so I just turned it off completely. Oh, this doesn't seem good. I gotta say, I do like White Mage, though. I do like White Mage as a pure healer. It is a lot of fun. But I don't want Astrologian to just become another White Mage. You know, I want Astrologian to be Astrologian. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even see your question. I commented on I like White Mage. It's fun. I mean, they feel really good as a healer. They've got a lot of instant heals. They have Holy, which can stun enemies in an AoE, which always feels really useful and powerful in like a 4-man thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm only level 67, so we're not at end game stuff, but yeah, I like them. In 6.0, they have some plans to still differentiate them. Yeah, I assume so. But from what I hear, like Astrologian, when it was first released, it used to be really, really interesting and cool with the cards. The cards did all sorts of different effects. And at this point, the cards are completely stripped down and basic. So people fear that they're going to strip down the class even more. And in general, the game is going to become more and more casual and sort of basic. Which is funny, because I thought that's what was happening to WoW, is that WoW was becoming more and more casual. But I don't know, I tried to heal in WoW, and it was just so fucking overwhelming and complicated, and I didn't know what to do. So, WoW did not feel casual to me. I mean, I certainly would like them to make healers a little bit more interesting than they are, or at least it's the DPS system, you know, the healer DPS system. Like, as the game is designed, we're required to DPS, but at the same time, they don't make DPSing as a healer that interesting. You know, there's no like complicated systems involved with our DPS. There's no big choices involved with our DPSing. It's just, here's some buttons, please DPS. So I guess I'd like them to sway one way or the other. Sway that, you know, make healing more necessary. Like, we don't have as much time to DPS or something. Or make DPS more interesting, which is, I guess, what I'd rather they do. Anyways, we got plenty more to talk about. Oh boy. We're all good. Dude, look at that. I mean, fucking Holy just stuns all these bastards. It's crazy good. Alright, so moving on to board games. Let's talk about Bloodborne. Talk about Bloodborne because I played that this week. Bloodborne, the board game. Played it for a couple hours or so. We got through chapter 1 of the first campaign. So each campaign of the four campaigns each has 3 chapters. Not even counting all the expansion stuff I got. It's gonna take quite a while to get through. Now, a big part of that was, of course, we were learning. But, yeah, still. So, I picked the threaded cane as my weapon of choice. My mom picked the Ludwig's Holy Blade. I don't know if there's, like, a best choice or a good, like, duo choice or anything. I don't know. We just picked them based on what looked cool. And the first chapter of the first recommended campaign starts out, basically you're just roaming the streets, looking for beasts to kill, dealing with hunters, you're dealing with mobs, and looking for people to rescue. And that's basically it. So it's not, I mean, we basically won this, we won the chapter our first try, but we won it by like a hair, you know? We barely survived. The problem is time. The problem is not like lives or, you know, if you die, you just come right back. You know, you lose all your blood echoes, and there's actually no way to retrieve your blood echoes. It's not like the video game in that aspect. You can't get them back. Oh, God.
We go together!
So there's not much penalty if you die. But he did just say rip and tear, yeah. What happens is throughout the entire game, throughout the entire chapter, there's this sort of timer. And it passes, it continues to pass every round, of course. Every turn. But also, if you ever die, that also ticks forward. And also, if you ever go back to the hunter's dream in order to like upgrade your cards or to rest or whatever, that also passes. So on a round where, say, one person dies and one person goes back to the hunter's dream to upgrade, you're looking at, you know, 3 ticks for the round tracker, and it can add up. Can add up quick, especially if you're not really sure what you should be doing, or you get caught up in some lengthy combat or some bullshit. That's definitely, I mean, that's, God, he's so fucking loud. It's, that's the real trick of it. I mean, because that's the only thing that really makes you lose. Because you can die unlimited times. Technically, it's just the timer.
Die, die, die!
Job done. Okay. But yeah, combat is pretty brutal. You can't be, from what I observed, I mean, maybe later on you could be, but from what I observed in the first chapter, you couldn't be like one shot from full health. But you could be close. It is certainly possible you could go, if you were missing a little bit of health, you could die in one attack. Basically, it's sort of about timings. So you decide at the start of each combat round, from your list of attacks, essentially how fast you're going to attack versus how much damage you're going to do. So generally, if you do a fast attack, it's going to do low damage. If you do a slow attack, it's going to do high damage. And then the enemy has their little random deck of cards that'll determine what type of attack they do. And they generally follow a similar formula. They do a fast attack, it's going to do lower damage, slow attack, big stuff, or they'll do a slow attack which with some sort of disastrous effect. Like the Scourge Beast has a special ability where at slow speed they will summon another Scourge Beast into their space, which is really fucking bad. And so then in order, you know, whoever has the fastest attack goes first, and then the middle attack, and then slow attack. Where if you have the same speed, it's simultaneous. And there are cards that you play onto these attacks when you initiate an attack that modify it in some way. So some will just add damage, some will let you draw a card to add to your combat hand or to your hand of cards, whereas some allow you to stagger. So if you play a stagger card on an attack, and your attack goes before, your attack happens first against an enemy, so they attack slow, you will stagger them, and it will cancel their attack, which is really powerful. I mean, obviously, much like in the game, staggering an enemy is great. The thing is, though, since the enemy deals with their own little deck of cards that's random, you don't know exactly what attack they're going to do and how fast they're going to attack. So you're taking a bit of a gamble with whether or not you even can stagger them that turn. I mean, you might attack at the same time as them or slower than them. Hard to say. If you do as fast attack as possible, just for the purpose of staggering, they might also do a fast attack, in which case it happens simultaneous and you don't cancel it. But the Threaded Cane, its special ability in the untransformed mode, was that I could stagger an enemy at the same attack speed as me. So that meant if I went as with a fast attack and a stagger card, I could stagger no matter what, which was great. Unless, of course, the enemy's special attack or whatever said cannot be staggered, in which case, fuck you. But yeah, generally staggering was really important. The other thing is dodge. So some of the cards had dodge on them, which meant that you wouldn't play this to initiate an attack, but during the combat round, when an enemy would attack you, if you had a dodge card in your hand, you could play it and discard it, and then you would just dodge the attack. Unless, of course, the attack said cannot be dodged, in which case, fuck you. So it's an interesting combat system that's not complicated, and does provide some excitement, and does sort of feel like the video game, which is impressive. Additionally, you know, you get these hand of cards. At the start of the game, they're all very basic. You know, they say draw 1, or deal +1 damage, or stagger. But as you collect blood echoes from killing enemies, you get to go to the Hunter's Dream, and you get to upgrade and bring in better cards into your deck that might say draw 2, or they might say stagger and heal 2 damage, or they might say like dodge But if you use this card to move, you can move 3 spaces. So this is really important. So that's the basic sort of combat, or the gameplay loop, is killing enemies, collecting blood echoes, and upgrading your deck of cards to become even stronger. You also collect consumable items, which are one-time use, you know, like throwing knives and fire bombs, or whatever they call them in Bloodborne, Molotov cocktails, things like that. Then there's rewards, which you get for completing missions. And these are the really good stuff. This is stuff like bloodstone shards, which make you do like more damage on all your weapon attacks. Or Carol runes, which give you different passive benefits, or, you know, you can activate them like once per visit to the Hunter's Dream. You can activate them to do something really special. It's really cool. As a Bloodborne fan, it's really cool to just see all this handled a lot better than the Dark Souls board game. Like, I was geeking out. So the missions basically, you know, you're going through this deck of cards for this campaign. And so it's like, well, when you visit this tile, whenever you do, read this card. And then that card would reveal like a mission, in which case one of them was like, oh, you find a woman here. She's a survivor. She needs a safe place to stay. And you have to escort her back to the Odin Chapel. But then you get to the Odin Chapel and like a fucking special scourge beast bursts through the window and you have to fight it. And it puts up fog gates. So you can't leave. Once you're in the fog gate, you can't leave until you die or you kill them. But you can, you know, other hunters can enter the fog gate. No other enemies can enter the fog gate. And, you know, it's a little boss arena. And the bosses that were, these are more like mini bosses, really. They have multiples of health than normal. So, you know, the little mini bosses we fought had like double health of a scourge beast. It's tricky though. It's tricky because they can hit hard. They got special abilities. I mean, right now you can't stay in combat for that long. And every death, you know, sends you back to the Hunter's Dream and ticks the round forward. And at certain points during the game, as the rounds continue to tick forward, there's certain points called reset points, where the entire map, like all the enemies reset, including bosses. So if you get a boss like 2/3 of the way down, but then the rounds tick forward, you take too much time and you hit one of these reset points, he resets to full health, which is a little lame, but this is countered by the fact that it doesn't reset when you die, technically. So it's sort of a way to compromise. So, you know, technically, if you're in between these reset points, you can die to a boss, come back, and finish him off. You know, but you might hit a reset point when you die, and he goes back to full health. So you really have to make sort of a group concerted effort. All right, this turn we're going in and we're burning him down, bring everything you got, blah, blah, blah. Then the final boss of Chapter 1 was another, like, special Scourge Beast with 3 times as much health. So this was a big boy, but we basically just wailed on him as hard as we could, and if you go in there, you prep properly, you got the right cards, you can make it happen. But we killed this thing with, like, 1 round left before the whole game ended. So we just barely did it. But it was exciting, it was good. I'm definitely interested in continuing to play. I think we're going to play more on Tuesday, and yeah, as a Bloodborne fan, it's really cool. I don't know when we're ever going to get to all this expansion content and chalice dungeons and all that shit. You know, there's a lot of content even in the base game. with 4 campaigns, each containing 3 chapters. Yeah. So that's that. We also played some more King's Dilemma this week, but we played one game, took about an hour, and then Ziggy announced that he had to leave because his wife is pregnant and has morning sickness. So he needed to somehow leave and go help her with that. We were all a little confused, but, you know, you can't, like, bar the man from leaving. So the 4 of us stayed there and we played Stockpile. Because stocks are very topical right now, so we played Stockpile. It was alright. I won. It's fine. Hopefully tomorrow we'll play 2 games at least of King's Dilemma. Because Ziggy is prepping now for a Sprawl campaign. Once we're done with King's Dilemma, we're going to be moving on to a Sprawl campaign. Finally! Roll Manging will be back! Can't wait. Speaking of Roll Manging, I started my family on Horde of the Dragon Queen in D&D this week. And it was pretty disastrous. No, I can't say that. I guess disastrous is not the right word. I don't think it was disastrous for them. It was just sort of disastrous for me. I leveled them up to level 2. Because Horde of the Dragon Queen, especially at the start, I mean, it can be really brutal. It can be really tough. Especially if you're level 1 with only like 4 players. I mean, goddamn. The first encounter is 8 kobolds, which can shred you. So I leveled them up to 2. There was 6 of them. I figured, okay, they can handle that. And they did. None of them died or anything. They had some issues because they seemed to lack a lot of sort of tactical awareness. But, you know, they rushed into town to help out with this raid that was, you know, they're helping out people, they're rescuing people, they're trying to be good people, they're trying to be heroes. This was all good. I mean, they weren't really ever stopped. They weren't ever really unsure of what to do. I mean, things progressed. We didn't get that far due to the length of combat. We ended the session with them, like, getting to the keep and then going out through the sewer tunnel on their way to rescuing some people at the church. That's where we stopped. And we stopped because I just could not handle it. My patience had reached a limit. Just like question after question after question of like basic shit, you know, basic D&D rules. And I don't, if it's a first question of its kind, if it's the first question of its kind and I answer it and then that's it, that's fine. You know, whatever. I understand. It's your first time, whatever. Even if it was someone else asking the question and I answer it, and then it's someone else's turn and they have the same issue and they ask about it, that's a little bit more annoying, but okay, fine. I mean, now, you know, you weren't really paying attention because it was someone else's question and now it's yours. Fine. As long as you get it and then we move on. But when it's the same person asking the same question multiple times, that's where my patience just starts to frizzle. And it's not like their fault. I mean, it's not like they're doing this on purpose or anything. I get it. They're just, you know, not adept at grasping new rule systems and things like that. But that still doesn't, that does not assuage my patience. You know, it's just, oh my gosh. And it was just the entire night, just question after question of what the dice do I roll? I mean, it's just like, it's the D20. It's always the D20. It's never not been the D20. again and again. I mean, it's just like, holy shit. Holy shit. Because I was like, because I leveled them up to level 2. They all got like new abilities and some stuff. I expected questions about that. I expected them like my mom got key points for her monk now at level 2. So I expected, okay, she'll be a little unclear about key points. I expected some questions about that. But she never even used key points once. Because she never even got that far as like comprehending what was going on. She was still stuck on like, what do I add to my role? Even though it's very clearly marked on the character sheet, and she's done this role like a dozen times now. And then, oh my god, and then... oh god. The D&D Beyond character sheet, on the front of it, like in a prominent section of the character sheet, I was very surprised. In a prominent section of the character sheet lists all of the characters' proficiencies. So like weapons and tools and stuff that they're proficient in. Multiple members of the group were fully convinced that that proficiency list was what they had like equipped on their person. Huh. And so eventually for one of them, I just like drew a big X through the proficiency section. I'm like, you don't even need to fucking know this. All right, just cross it out. And another time, one player was like, okay, I'm gonna attack with my club. And I'm like, you don't have a club. You have a scimitar. And she's like, okay, but here it says club. And I'm like, no, you're proficient with clubs. Use your scimitar. And she's like, okay, I attack with my scimitar. And then another player was like, okay, add your dexterity to it. And I'm like, why the fuck are you adding your dexterity to it? And the reason he said that is because in Knave, which is the last RPG we played, you added dexterity whenever you used a ranged weapon. And because the only weapon all of them used in Knave at all was a crossbow, they all just got permanently into their brains that when you roll a d20, you add your dexterity to it. It's just insane, man. So I ended the session because I can't handle this. And like, it's close to me not wanting to continue just because it's like, what enjoyment am I really getting out of this? I'm basically just like babysitting. I'm basically like running bingo at a senior home where none of them know how to play bingo. Like, there's no enjoyment here. But I think they're gonna make like a more concerted effort to like watch a bunch of YouTube videos about how to play and things like that. Like Critical Role and some other YouTube channels have like how to play D&D 5th edition. They have like basic videos. I think the people that are interested in continuing are gonna try and make an effort. So I'll give it another session, I suppose. But my god, man. I just want to play. I just want to play a system that everybody knows with Ziggy DMing and just us kicking ass and taking names. That's all I want. Yeah, Pathfinder 3.5. And this is why I switched to a simple system way back. This is why I switched to like Maze Rats or Knave, because they couldn't fucking handle anything more. But running a big campaign or a lengthy campaign with those systems is just really kind of boring after a while, because nothing really changes. If I was a better DM or something, or if I liked DMing, maybe I could make it more interesting. But I'm not a great DM, and I don't really like DMing. So all I do is run pre-written stuff. And pre-written stuff inevitably involves a lot of combat. Most of the time. So combat, when every character just fires their crossbow every round, is like, why aren't we just playing a board game at this point? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. All right. Well, I got enough. I've said enough. And I got Final Fantasy 14 to record. So I guess I should get to that. Yeah, so check out House of the Worm video tomorrow, an exploring series. Should be pretty good. I'll also be dropping a video this week on the exploring series. It's an audiobook voiced, narrated by me. It's like over 5 hours long. With voice acting, where I voice multiple characters with accents. What the fuck? Yeah, so a long while back, Ziggy wrote a novella, or a short novel, and I agreed to do the audiobook for it. This was quite a while back, at least a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago. So I did the entire audiobook for him, with the voice acting and all that. You know, it's like a regular book. And the plan was he was going to get this on like Audible. He was going to get this, you know, handled officially to go along with his book publication and all that. But, I mean, his book got published and all that, but the audiobook part just never came through. So it just never, I don't know the specifics of it. I was not involved. I had just basically forgotten about it, but he came to me and was like, I would rather this just be released somewhere for free rather than it not being anywhere, because he's hoping to get some publicity out of it. So he asked if I would release it on my channel. And I said, I mean, I guess I can do that. It doesn't involve really any work on my part. And he said I can monetize it, so why not? It's pretty much all done. I'm not going to put images on it. It's just going to be the book art, the book cover art. So it's a lazy project that I can profit from, but I already did a lot of work recording it all. So I don't know how people will feel about it, because it's not like, it's sort of weird, a weird thing to release on my channel, but it is technically an audiobook recorded by me, narrated by me. So, I mean, I'm allowed to upload it, and so I'm gonna fucking upload it. We'll see what people think of it. You ran a game of 5th edition for a bunch of kids at the local library before the virus. I know how you feel. Yeah, it's just rough, and it's just not a fun experience to do that. I mean, DMing when everyone knows all the rules and knows what to do can be fun, but if I had someone else there to explain and like answer all their questions and all I had to worry about was just DMing, that would be one thing. But I'm the only person there that knows the rules, and it's just, oh god. If even one of them just sat down and like read the player's handbook and learned all the rules, that would be incredible. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So yeah, the House of the Worm and this audiobook later this week. We've got more Dragon Quest VI, more Divinity Original Sin 2, no more Final Fantasy 14 this week, which is crazy. We've got something on the variety stream on Wednesday, more Two Brothers Play Final Fantasy X on Saturday. Should be a good week. Thank you all for listening. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. See you fine folks next week.